Okay, so till the last session we discussed what are all the for a data flow unit, what are all the basic requirements, and what are all the control signals required, and those for the control signals for what operations, what are all the control signals may be needed, right? This is only the overall discussion we have done. We have not yet discussed for a particular instruction to get the complete function, how the control signals needs to be enabled and in what flow. That we have not in detail discussed the control sequence, right? We have just discussed for particular operations overall how it should happen, right? Now gradually we enter into writing the control sequence for complete instruction also, right? So if you know to write for few instructions, then even if you have a program, you should be able to write for the complete program. And once you have written it for the complete program, it is easy to find out what are all the control signals needs to be enabled at what time and in what sequence. So based on that, designing a control unit also is very easy, because control unit design is ultimately we enable and disable different control we require a system to enable and disable different control signals at the right time. Okay, so once you are able to write the control sequence for the entire program, then it is easy for you to come up with the control unit design also. Okay, so here to start with addition of two numbers which is there in R1 and R2, and store the result in R3, right? Here the notation followed is always the last is the destination and the previous are the sources. Okay, and if you have only two registers, then the last one serves as the source as well as the destination. Okay, only thing we have to ensure is the structure whatever we are designing, that is capable of accommodating the flow, data flow. For example, if instead of add R1, R2, R3, if I simply give add R1, R2, that means R2 is supposed to act as a source as well as a destination. Okay, but for R2, if only out direction is enabled and no in direction has been enabled, in that case you cannot use this as a destination. Okay, so that is what we mean here by the structural competency should be there. If the structure is supporting it, then we can use it like that. Okay, so when we want to add two numbers and then store the result in one other register, this is the simplest operation, because not much data flow is required, not much control signal needs to be enabled, or no time consuming job. In other cases you may have to wait for the memory to give the data or input device to give the data, right? And same way while storing the result also, you may have to wait for the memory to complete the store write function, or you may have to wait for the output device to complete its operation. But when it's associated with the registers are definitely the fastest devices what we are having here, which is on par with the processor speed. Okay, other than the registers, all other memory setups you give will be reduced in speed of operation compared with the internal data flow, right? Whatever gets directly connected with the internal processor bus, that those are the those registers always work, or the memory always work with the same speed as the processor. Okay, so mostly we won't connect any memory directly, and we provide it as the secondary levels only, because if you want to provide a very costly, I mean if you want to concentrate only on the speed of operation, then the cost of the system will be very, very high, where you cannot afford a system like that at all. Okay, we will discuss all those things in detail here. So this is the simplest operation, right? Quick and simplest, because all the operations are involving only the registers, right? And just a logical or arithmetic operation, right? So in this case, first thing what we need is, we need the data from R1, and then we have to take the data from R2, right? And then the result needs to be stored in R3, right? For that we have to enable R1 out, R2 out, so that we get both data, and then after the operation completes, the result needs to be returned in R3 by enabling R3 in. Okay, so we see what are the control signals enabled in what sequence here. First thing we enable is R1 out, right? According to the data flow unit we have designed, if you look at it, one data should be through Y register, another data can be directly given to the ALU. Okay, so one register we select here R1 out, and we enable Y in. Okay, and once Y in has been loaded with the R1 data, there is only one bus. Okay, so at a time you can transfer only one data. Okay, so you have to wait till the data in R1 gets latched in Y register, and then only it gets stored in Y. Okay, once one data has been moved, then you can enable the next data, there that also flows through the same data bus. Okay, so that is why, since this is a single bus architecture, we enable one register, load the data in Y register, and then we enable the second register, which directly gets connected to the input B of the ALU. Okay, now we have one data in Y, and we have one data directly given to the input B. Then you have to select, right? Here you can see yeah, here you can see that you have the, for input A, you have the option of selecting between constant 4 and Y register. Okay, and only one input can straight away flow through this. Okay, so R1 value we take it and store it in Y register, and through Y register we give it to input A. Okay, and there is only one processor bus, so only one data can be enabled at a time. Once we complete loading the Y register with R1 data, then R2 data we enable and pass it through the register, I mean through the processor bus from the register, right? And the output will be available for all the once the data is connected, right? It can be latched with any register. So it depends on which in signal you are enabling, it gets latched there. Okay, so we then we add both the values, and then it gets stored in Z by enabling Z in. Okay, and then you enable Z out to load it in R3. Okay, so this is how it the data can flow. So since it's a single bus architecture, one data at a time only can be enabled. That means only one out signal can be enabled. Multiple in signal can be enabled, because the same data you can store it in multiple places. That will not be a problem. So only one read at a time, but multiple writes can take place. Okay, so here we have to select Y, whether we want to select Y or the in case of an program counter increment, it will be simply selecting the constant 4. Okay, so here we have to select Y, because the R1 data is there in Y register and R2 data is given to B. Okay, then we go for add the by enabling the control signal based on the instruction we received. So for this, the control signal in the control unit will be enabled based on the instruction register value. Right here you can see that the instruction instruction register decodes, gives the instruction. The decoder decodes and then gives the control logic. So here the control signals. Here the control signals. 1 second. Here you can see that the control signals, whatever we are looking at as control signals, are these are part of those control signals. Okay, not only doesn't mean that only these signals are getting generated. Okay, these are one set of control signals which will be part of this set. Okay, so here you get based on the instruction, you get add, subtract all those control signals from here, and depends on what operation it is, that signal needs to be enabled. Okay, and whatever you are seeing here, the arithmetic and logical signals are only part of it. That is not the complete set. Okay, there are control signals required for other things also, right? So you enable the control signal add, right, where the addition operation takes place in the ALU, and then you load the result in Z register by enabling Z in. Okay, so once the data has been loaded in Z register, then from Z it can be moved to R3. Okay, so here then in the third step we enable Z out and then R3 in, where the value in Z has been transferred or moved or copied into R3 register. Okay, so this is the starting. Take have a very good look at it and try to understand, because as instructions grow on, you should be able to come up with the complete control sequence for any instruction given. Okay, and initially itself I told you this is the simplest operation, right? So I give you some 1 or 2 minutes, try to understand it and digest it. If you are not clear with any of this, ask now itself, because we will be discussing for entire instructions now. So if you don't get it, you won't get that also. So better you get clarify this now. And if you have gone through that also, you have no doubt in it, please let me know so that we can continue.
No doubt.
Okay, so we proceed. So now we go for complete execution of complete instruction, where from the beginning of getting the address from the program counter, fetching the instruction and then decoding it and then executing it, right? Whatever we have discussed earlier is only the execution part of it, right? Now we go into discussing the control sequence for the complete instruction. So here we have taken one instruction where add excuse me, add R3 comma R1, and R3 has been within the braces. Okay, that means this is a memory operation, right? So one data is there in memory which is pointed out by R1, another data which is there in R1, right? And there are only two registers mentioned here. So that means the last one serves as the destination also. So here this is R1 is serving as a source as well as serving as the destination, right? So we take one data from the memory location which is pointed out by R3, and we take another data which is there in R1. We add those two data. Once the operands added, we store the result in R1 through Z register. Okay, this is the flow what is required. And for that, first thing what we have to do, we have to fetch this instruction from the memory. Okay, and then we go for fetching the first operand which is the content of the memory location pointed out by R3, right? So two memory two memory read is required here, right? One is reading the instruction, another is reading the data which is pointed out, operand which is pointed out by R3. Okay, and then you perform the addition, because taking R1 is the easiest job. Just before you enable the addition, you just enable R1 out. Okay, and then you load the result in R1, right? And for each of the steps I have mentioned here, we just broadly categorized into 4 steps. Okay, but each of the steps mentioned here will be requiring set of control signals, right? And some of the control signals cannot be enabled in one step. Okay, so that means multiple steps, each of the specified task here may be requiring multiple steps, right? And each step will be requiring multiple control signals. For example, in case of fetch the instruction, right, we see what are all the signals required. Can anyone tell me, to fetch the instruction from the memory, what is the first thing we have to do? Jagan Sai. Jagan Sai?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Tell me, if I want to read the instruction from memory, what is the first thing I have to do? How do you know from where you have to take the instruction? Jayansai, are you there or not? You are there. How do you know from where you are supposed to look for the instruction to be executed? Which gives the address of the instruction? Vasudha? Excuse me. Vasudha, are you there or not? Vasudha, roll number 60.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam. Can you tell me, how do you know from where the instruction needs to be taken? Which register gives the address of the instruction? Can anyone tell me?
Memory addresses.
Memory address for taking instruction, which register gives?
Instruction register.
instruction register purpose is to store the instruction once you take it from the memory, right? Which register gives the address from where it's supposed to be taken?
Is it program counter?
Yes, Kishore, absolutely right. Program counter gives you the address of the memory location from where you are supposed to take the instruction. So what control signal I have to enable here? PC in or PC out?
PC out.
Yeah, right. PC out I have to enable so that the data whatever is there in program counter will be available through the processor bus. Okay, and where it's supposed to be latched. You have the address, now where it should be sent.
Instruction register.
You are having only the address. What will be stored in instruction register? Instruction register stores the instruction, right? But this is only the address of the instruction. You have to take the instruction from the
MAR.
memory. Absolutely right. Who is that?
Aditya.
Aditya. So from MAR only we will know, we load the address from the program counter into the memory address register, right? So that the address will be given to the memory, and then the based on the address, one location will be selected in the memory, and then that whatever is there, the instruction will be taken, and then only once you get the instruction to the processor only it can be loaded into the instruction register. Okay, and in case of MAR, what signal I am supposed to enable here? MAR in or out?
In.
In, because you are going to store, you are going to load the address in the memory address register, which is the write operation. So that means input needs to be latched. Okay, so once you load the address into the memory address register, then what we have to do? You have taken the address and put it in the memory address register. Then what we have to do? When you load the address in the memory address register, whether the processor or memory have any idea of what operation needs to be done?
Read, ma'am.
We have to specify it, what operation needs to be done. When one value loaded in the memory address register, there won't be any clue of what operation needs to be done. So we have to say that it is a read operation, right? We have to enable that also, right? Then what we have to do? We have to wait till the till the data has been read and then loaded in the instruction register. Okay. In the meantime, what we can do is we can increment the program counter value, right, and keep it ready to point to the next location. Okay. And to increment the program counter value, how do we increment it?
Constant 4.
We have to select a constant 4, right, and then we have to automatically the value is there in the processor bus, so it is connected to the input B also. Okay, so we select 4 and then what operation we do?
Add.
Add. Excellent. We add. After addition, where it should be loaded?
Z, ma'am. Result.
Yeah, after addition it will be loaded in Zn, right? And then from there it will be taken and loaded in 2 registers. It is loaded both in program counter as well as loaded in the Y register. Okay, why do we do this is later if you want to change the if it is going to be some jump or call instruction, in that case, you need the program counter value to be updated. Okay, so here what we do is, once we incremented the program counter value, the incremented value has been stored both in program counter as well as in Y register, so that if it is some branch instruction, Y register gives the updated program counter value and instruction register gives the where it's supposed to branch out, and adding that we will get the new address which can be directly loaded into the program counter. So one step we reduce here. Okay, once you loaded in Zn, then you enable Z out, and then you enable PC in as well as Yn. Okay, so that we keep the value updated in program counter as well as we keep it ready in Y register for further processing if required. Otherwise that time you have to read once again. Okay, so instead of that we keep the value ready. Okay, now do we have any other work to do? Till we get the instruction from the memory, no more operation can be carried out here, right? Only operation which can be carried out is incrementing the program counter, that we have done. Okay, so now all we have to do is wait till the memory function complete signal gets enabled. Okay, MFC is memory function complete and you wait till it gets enabled. So once memory function complete is enabled, then what we can do next?
Store the current instruction in instruction list.
Yeah, absolutely right. But where do I find that?
MDR out and IR in.
Excellent, Aditya. Any data to the memory or from the memory should be only through the MDR register, right? You want to store some data also, you can load it only through MDR. You want to read some value also, you have to read only through MDR. Okay, so here we are reading some data from the memory, so that should be available in MDR when the memory function complete is activated. Okay, so what we do is MDR out, and this value is supposed to be loaded in instruction register, so IR in. Okay, so once we loaded the value in IR, sorry, excuse me. Once we loaded the value in IR, the instruction decoder will take some time to decode and then provide what operation it is. Okay, so we just take we assume that end of the third cycle, the process gets identified, the instruction gets decoded and it identifies what operation it is. Okay, so in this case, what we do is it will realize that there is one more memory read is required, right? And the process is the same, where you load the address in MAR and then enable the read signal, right? But only thing is the address for that read will be from the register from where you have to take the operand. Okay, that will be the only difference. Once you have taken that data, then again you wait for once you wait and you get the data from the memory, you can directly go for enabling the next register value, add it, and then store the value, whatever we discussed in the previous slide. Okay, so now we go for the complete execution we see. Okay, so like we discussed, it starts with loading the program counter value into the memory address register by enabling PC out and then MAR in, and then we say that it is the read operation. And once we say that it's a read operation and given the address, we in the meantime increment the program counter value by selecting 4, and this is select 4 based on the concept that it's a 32-bit word and every word is byte addressable. Okay, then we add and then we enable ZN control signal to store the incremented value in Z. Okay, and in the next step we enable Z out, and then we load the same value in program counter as well as in Y register by enabling its corresponding in control signal. Okay, so that program counter is also updated and Y register is also having the updated value of the program counter in case if it is branching or some other instruction where program counter address needs to be manipulated. Okay, and then we wait for the memory function to complete. That means once memory function complete signal we received, the data can be taken from the MDR register. Okay, so we take the value from MDR and we load it in instruction register by enabling the MDR out and IR in control signal. Okay, and we assume that by the end of third clock cycle the instruction register value gets decoded and identified with what operation it is. Okay, now from the instruction we can understand that it is the add instruction where value is supposed to be taken from memory pointed out by R3 and another value from R1 should be added. So what is the next step here? What is the next step here? Instruction has been read and available, and we know what operation it is. So for this particular operation, what should be carried out in the next clock cycle? Anyone please, what should be carried out in the next clock cycle? If we want to add, we need the data from the memory which is pointed out by R3 register. Okay, so how do we get the value from the memory? MAR in should be enabled after activating what signal?
Read.
No, after loaded MAR only you enable read signal. But for MAR it needs some input, right?
R3 out.
R3 is the input here which gives the address of the location from where the data should be taken. So R3 out should be enabled, right? And then MAR in should be enabled, and then you say that it's a read operation. Okay, and in the meantime we can take, since we know that the operation is completely different, we can read R1 out and load it in Y in and keep it ready. Okay, now since the instruction is different where a program counter value is no more required for this particular instruction execution, we can very well change the value of Y register, right, with the data what is required for the current operation. Okay, so we enable R1 out in the meantime and then we put it in Y register and then we wait for the memory function to complete. Okay, and once the memory read has been over, then the data will be there in MDR register. So we enable MDR out and then select Y here because Y register is where we loaded the content of R1 at this clock cycle. And so now we have the value pointed out by R3. We have the value what was there in R1, then we go for add, right? Once added, the result can be stored in Z, right? And then the result supposed to be stored in R1, so we enable Z out and then we enable R1 in, and with this the instruction whatever we have taken, execution is complete. Okay, so we enable the control signal end. This enabling control signal end means you are going to use this as a reset to enable the next instruction execution. Okay, this indicates that this current operation over, can proceed with the next instruction execution. Okay, so this will be the trigger to initiate the next instruction execution. So again, your next instruction also will start with the program counter out MAR in till the first three steps are common for all the instruction control sequence. Okay, because the first thing you do is you read the instruction, only then depends on what instruction it is, the execution will be different. Okay, but the fetch operation will never change for any instruction. Okay, so this end here will trigger the enabling of PC out or all the signals in the next clock cycle to start with the next instruction. Okay, so the first three steps are common, that's the instruction fetch phase, and after that whatever comes is the instruction execution phase. And fetch phase is common for all the instructions, right, invariable of whatever the instruction is, because we don't know what instruction it is, right? Only after we take the instruction from the memory we know that it's the this particular instruction and what needs to be done for that. Okay, so only the execution phase, the control signals and the sequence will be changing. Okay, for fetch phase the first three lines remains. And incrementing the program counter through ALU is not the fastest approach, but here when you don't have the facility and to effective use, we use the waiting time of the memory instruction read complete. During that time we use it, but if possible we can use parallel counters in the program counter itself with the parallel load capability, right? Remaining all I have already told you. So take a few minutes, try to understand the complete execution. This is the control sequence for instruction add R3 comma R1, where R3 is within the bracket. Okay, so just take few minutes, go through it, and if not clear with any point, please let me know.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can we have those PPT soon for preparation?
Yeah, I'll upload it in AUMS.
Okay.
I think that's the only platform you're having now.
Teams.
Ma'am, we can upload in
Yeah,
Teams
Teams.
also.
You can upload it in Teams. Yeah, whichever comfortable for you, I can upload it in that.
Teams, ma'am.
Teams is better, ma'am.